we're right at near the end of putting this work into the gallery, which is for the show which we've ended up giving the title Index. That was the working title, and now it's the title of the show for better or for worse. But it does, in a sense, refer very much to the way the show has been thought about and constructed alongside the idea of an alphabet, and using each, say, letter or number or order of letters. We've built a set of sculptures or objects, and then to build the works on paper or paintings on paper alongside those, which use the objects as a model or as a diagram to make the paintings from. So, it's very much, there's a set of models, let's say 26 models. First model is the A, and in this case it's the S or the donkey, and the end of the sequence is the final, which is the Z. In this case we've put a dark or a black and a white shark fin for the end. And I think that the use of the fin as the end point of the sequence was really where the show started to sort of develop, in a sense, its attitude. I.e., one doesn't, as a person who likes to invent things that haven't been done before for purely personal reasons, I couldn't really see any point in making a whole lot of making an alphabet that made sort of any literal sense. But it's such a useful form to sort of hang ideas on, because everyone has obviously an ongoing, continued and daily use or experience of the alphabet in their own lives, in their own cultures, and of course in their own language. So by building an alphabet in New Zealand, in Aotearoa, I couldn't really get around the problem my personal problem, or something that's that I identified myself, is that I couldn't really construct an alphabet without referring to where the alphabet in New Zealand came from, or not came from, but like what it does here, or why it does things here. And so in speaking to the director of the gallery and some of my colleagues about the fact that that the te reo Māori is a very important component to how we understand English in New Zealand, and that gives our use of language or common language in this country a very idiosyncratic form. You might call it a South Pacific form, you might call it an European South Pacific Asian form, but whatever form it is, it's not purely Queen's English. And so this show, in a sense, is my second public show of the public gallery this year, and the first show was about a storage problem. I don't have enough room to store all the artworks that have come back from projects over the years, or it's an ongoing reality. The second show, this one, Index, is not so much a problem, but I'm sort of identifying that my constant, my interest in history, and my interest in New Zealand history, and my interest in language, and my interest in Maori, and in particular, in this case, in Maori, is real, but my ability to use it is pretty awful. But that's only my ability. But I still have a sense of real value for it. I'm still interested in how it affects how we think about and feel about our immediate environment, and how it affects how things and what things mean and what value we can place on things. And I guess that's where what fascinated me about building this show was that I was making a body of work that was primarily about. Martin doesn't really know how to speak Te Reo very well, but his interest in the language and in the culture, while you could say is light, it's very real. But when you're putting an alphabet in New Zealand together, you have to use the forms that are there. And so this is, my wild stab in the dark at an alphabet. Hopefully I don't get a wild stab in the dark for giving the Indigenous language a very, what I would say, generous and respectful, kind of thoughtful and poetic play or employment. But I think that having to become a little bit more au fait with Te Reo in order to make sure that the translations, all my ideas, it's not that they need to be right, but it's more about them being accurate to the form or the poetry, and in particular into the image. Like, I'm an image maker. I make paintings and I make objects. So certain languages are certainly not my strong points. Okay, but it's in this part of the world, it's very relevant. It's very relevant for me. The politics in this case are really very personal ones. But I think that for most of us, our politics are personal. They're not what we generally hear about in the news and on the media. They're much more closer to home.